Hello, and welcome back to Liberal Breakdown. JD Vance just made a headline-grabbing visit to India, and let's just say it's got China's attention, and for good reason. So what actually happened? JD Vance, vice president under Donald Trump, a man who, let's be real, built his brand off political chaos, showed up in India this week with a full charm offensive. The message? Hey India, let's be best friends, or the world gets dark. Like, very dark. He pushed for stronger defense ties, pitched US-made fighter jets, and tried to sell more American ethanol. You know, the usual sales pitch dressed up in strategic language. But what he was really doing? Sending a signal. And not just to India, but to China, loud and clear.
JD Vance and his family were warmly welcomed to India by Prime Minister Modi for high-level talks and to solidify the relationship between the US and India during this time of global economic uncertainty. The relationship between the US and India has gone from strength to strength since Donald Trump's election as president. Prime Minister Modi was one of the first leaders to visit the White House after Trump's inauguration, signalling the deep bond between the two countries. And again, when the world was in meltdown over tariffs, Modi was one of the first leaders to get in contact with Trump to negotiate a deal, despite being hit with 26% reciprocal tariffs. And now, Modi is again extending the olive branch to the US, hosting JD Vance and his family to negotiate a free trade deal between the US and India. He said, "Pleased to welcome US VP JD Vance and his family in New Delhi. We reviewed the fast-paced progress following my visit to the US and meeting with President Trump. We are committed to mutually beneficial cooperation, including in trade, technology, defense, energy, and people-to-people exchanges. India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership will be a defining partnership of the 21st century for a better future for our people and the world."
Now here's where it gets deeper. Vance isn't just talking diplomacy, he's drawing battle lines. And it's clear he sees China not just as a competitor, but an outright threat. He's called for sanctions, tariffs, and even legislation to choke off Chinese access to US financial systems. India? He's treating them like the golden child in a new Cold War, the West's answer to China's rise. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't about democratic ideals. This is about power, control, and pushing a very specific worldview that comes straight out of the America First playbook. Now, as someone who believes in real diplomacy, not just hardline threats wrapped in a smile, this whole move feels off. Yeah, we should strengthen ties with India, absolutely, but not as a pawn in some geopolitical game where we pretend to care about values while arming up for conflict. And let's not forget, while Vance was shaking hands, Kashmir was reeling from a deadly terrorist attack. 26 tourists were killed. That's not just a sidebar. That's the real-world consequence of instability. We can't just waltz in, drop some defense contracts, and pretend like we're the heroes. Instead of playing empire chess with China and dragging India into the middle, we need to focus on shared values, climate action, human rights, the stuff that actually makes the world less dark. We've seen what America First foreign policy looks like. It's reckless, and it usually backfires. If we're serious about leadership, it has to be rooted in something better than fear.
I was asked yesterday whether or not the president's engaged in a one-on-one talk with President Xi of China, and the White House not willing to go on the record with that, an indication that these conversations are still not happening at the most senior levels. Either way, all three major U.S. stock indexes are set to open sharply higher today, given some of the news the president and Treasury Secretary made within the last 24 hours, suggesting that the trade war won't last forever. As you all three know, there's been a major sell-off on Wall Street ever since the trade war began.
We're doing fine with China. We're doing fine with I think almost every country. Everybody wants to have involvement with the United States. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero.
As Fox Business has learned, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said something similar to investors this week, that he expects a de-escalation with China in the near future. 2 weeks ago, the White House also pushed pause on imposing sweeping tariffs on almost every U.S. trading partner. It allowed this pause to allow negotiations to continue. So far, though, no new trade deals have been signed, and the White House says stay tuned.
Trump's teasing big tariff cuts on China, and suddenly, he's Mr. Stability when it comes to the Federal Reserve. So what's going on here? So let's start with this. Trump just said he's open to cutting tariffs on China. Yes, the same tariffs he's been screaming about for years. The tough on China stuff he uses at every rally. Now it's like, hey, maybe we can work something out. The US and China are back at the table, trying to strike a new trade deal. Trump hasn't confirmed if he spoke to Xi personally, but he's definitely trying to shift the tone. And let's be real, he's feeling the heat. Prices are up, businesses are tired, farmers even more tired. And if you've been paying attention, those tariffs weren't just hurting China. They hit us too. Higher prices, supply chain messes, and zero progress on fentanyl or tech theft. So now, in an election year, of course he wants to walk it back. But we've seen this dance before. And then, out of nowhere, Trump says he's got no plans to fire Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, which is actually surprising because if you remember, Trump hated Powell. Every time the Fed raised interest rates, Trump would tweet like it was a personal betrayal. But now, he's chill about it. Why? Easy. Stability. Markets hate uncertainty. And if Trump's trying to run on the economy again, he needs Wall Street calm.
Seeing so much green on Wall Street before the opening bell is the president made the strong suggestion again that he has no plans to fire the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Just this week, Trump suggested that Powell should have to leave his post as Federal Reserve Chairman. His post isn't up until May of next year. And so there was that suggestion that maybe Trump would try to push him out of the job. But Trump said last night that he no longer feels that is the case. But of course, he wants to see interest rates brought down sooner rather than later.
Firing the Fed chair would tank confidence. And even Trump knows that's a bad look right now. Here's the big picture. This isn't some new, thoughtful Trump doctrine. It's not diplomacy. It's strategy. Pure election year positioning. Talk soft on China to ease inflation worries. Talk stable on the Fed to calm the markets. It's a rebrand, not a revelation. And let's not forget, these are the same policies that caused chaos when he was in office. Gutting trade relationships, undermining central banks. It's like setting a fire and then bragging when you show up with a bucket of water.
Overnight, billionaire Elon Musk telling Tesla shareholders that his work with the Department of Government Efficiency is winding down.
I think starting probably in next month, May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly.
The world's richest man insisting he will stay with the Trump administration, at least part-time, but will focus on his business.
Starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla.
His remarks coming after his company Tesla announced a 9% drop in revenue from January to March and a staggering 71% drop in profits in the first quarter. The electric car giant blaming the growing trade war and, quote, changing political sentiment, which could have a meaningful impact on demand for our products in the near term.
As people know, there's been some blowback for the time that I've been spending in government with the Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge.
The company's CEO has become a divisive figure since heading up the president's effort to shrink the size of the federal government. His high profile making Tesla a target. The Department of Justice already charging multiple people in several states for attacking dealerships and lighting multiple Tesla vehicles on fire.
Elon, the guy who's been acting like Trump's unofficial tech czar, cheerleading far-right talking points while his company tanks. And now, he's backing away from the Trump administration like he just realized it's radioactive. Let's break it down. Musk hasn't just been tweeting about politics, he's been in politics. He's been leading Trump's so-called Department of Government Efficiency. A real thing, by the way. Basically trying to apply Silicon Valley logic to a government they're trying to gut. The billionaire with the memes and rockets, co-signing culture war nonsense while pushing deregulation and budget cuts that help billionaires. But now, Elon says he's stepping back. Why? Because Tesla's bleeding. Let's talk numbers. Tesla's profits dropped 71% in Q1. Sales are down. Stock is down nearly 50% since December. And even die-hard fans are asking what happened to the electric car messiah. The answer, he went full politics. And it backfired. He alienated key markets like China, California, Tesla's old power base, well, one is out. Cybertruck sales are flopping. He scrapped the affordable EV model and the robo-taxi dream. Still, vaporware. Investors are freaking out. And now Musk's trying to look like he's refocusing. When Trump's crew thinks you are too much of a political mess, that's saying something. And suddenly Elon's like, I'll only work in government 1 or 2 days a week. When billionaires use politics as a playground and treat the government like a side hustle, we all pay the price. Musk played MAGA kingmaker for clout. And now that the backlash is hitting his wallet, he's ducking out. But the damage is done to his brand, to Tesla, and to the idea that tech CEOs have any business steering national policy. Maybe next time, keep the engineers in the lab and the memes off Capitol Hill. What do you think? Is Elon really stepping back for Tesla or just stepping away from the political mess he helped create? Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you at the next one.